manipulation. There's too much, people start using a lot of NLP. So what do you say to people who are feel uncomfortable with sales?
Yeah, just to
get comfortable with it.
Just get on with it. I had to grab it, and I had to.
Then it's your duty to get
It's my duty, absolutely my duty.
Yeah. What's up, guys? Eric Ho here, and in today's video, I've got a very special guest with me. He's an international speaker. He goes around and he coaches the top entrepreneurs, the top leaders, the top corporate clients out there in terms of how to really maximize their sales. And why it's such an interesting topic for me is because a lot of the time, while traveling the world and speaking to loads of people, I always say the number one skill for any entrepreneur out there, or for any leader out there, or for anybody who really wants to make a difference out there, is the skill of selling. If you see all of the greatest leaders out there, they all have one thing in common, and this is the skill. And that's why when I first met this guy, and he was telling me the stories of how he's been able to take people from 5 figures to 6 figures, from 6 figures to 7 figures, even from people who are just starting out in business to making their first 100Ks in business, I was like, wow, that's really amazing. And I thought we shared a lot of values, and at the same time, I learned a lot from this guy. So I thought it would be extremely valuable to have him here. I know he's got a very busy timeline and very busy schedule, but he's managed to squeeze out this time to share this value with you guys. So I'm just gonna introduce you guys to the amazing Pete Scott. Great to have you, brother.
You too. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So anyway, sales. A lot of the time when I'm speaking to people about sales, people think, sales, it's like, I'm not so sure about sales. And I always tell people, I say, hey, but you need to understand one thing, that all of you are in sales already. 100%. And I know that the other day you were speaking on stage and you were talking about the same thing. I mean, what's your philosophy behind this?
Yeah. I completely agree as well. And in business, sales is everything. And without the ability to sell, you can have the best product, the best service on the planet, but if you can't sell it, then you're still going to be struggling to get the results that you need. And so my main philosophy behind it is that you're always selling, and you're either selling a solution or a product that makes somebody's life better, or you're really selling your reasons of why you cannot sell.
What do you say to people who say, but actually, I really don't enjoy sales?
Sales, yeah. Well, number one is to say that that it's about training, and knowing that, have you tried to actually go through some training to start with, but the second thing as well is to think about when you're trying to tell your friend about what a great restaurant you've just been to. You're selling that restaurant. It's just maybe you're not getting commission for it. You're telling your friend about the latest smartphone or whatever it is that you've just purchased. Again, you're selling. And even, do you know what, Eric, right now, we're selling. we're selling to
the idea of sales, right?
The idea of sales. So people are sitting watching now, and they're like, these guys, do they know what they're talking about, or do they not? So we have to sell this. We're selling right now. Do we like each other? So especially when we first met and we sat down, had dinner. So this entire life is really about sales, but there has been this negative association with sales due to just really what we see on TV, on the internet, about the 1990s big briefcase kind of car salesperson. So in sales, it definitely isn't that, not in the current marketplace.
So what do you say to people who are feel uncomfortable with sales?
Yeah, just to
get comfortable with it.
Just get on with it. I think more empathy is required. I think really to know that selling is serving, and I would say that selling is actually one of the most selfless things that we can do if we believe in what we're selling. Now, don't get me wrong. Even for me, even though I'm a sales transformation consultant, I've worked with more than 400 companies, thousands and thousands of staff. I say that they need to believe not just in themselves, but in the product that they're selling, and that's really fundamental. But more so than the product, the outcome of their product. And so, for example, people say, well, I don't use this product myself, but I say, well, you may not need it because it's not right for you, but what about your customer? And if you believe in the outcome of your product and what it does for your customer, and you can really visualize that your customer is happier as a result of buying your product or service, or they're more successful, or they're making more money if you sell consultancy or sales training, then there's you actually you can move from this fear of selling to actually being really excited about it.
So would you say that the biggest reason to why people are uncomfortable with selling is because they actually don't believe in the product?
I think there's a couple of things. Number one is believing in the product, but the second thing is that so if I do this with you, actually, can I test this out on you?
Yeah.
So if you visualize a salesperson, so just visualize what springs to mind when you think of that word, salesperson.
Someone with a sales form and closing me and get me to sign the form or something, get my credit card out.
So when you think of that type of person with the form, and maybe did you have the big collars and the briefcase as well? Yeah, that was all in there. Maybe the cigar, who knows? But does that make you feel comfortable thinking you're going to approach your customers?
No, you immediately get this pushy feeling, don't you? When you think of it?
And this is actually, a lot of the work that I do actually is moving people from the fear of selling to feeling comfortable about selling. And it all starts in here. It starts in our own psychology. And if you're imagining a salesperson to be, kind of this negative, image, but then also we're trying to serve people, we get stuck. So it's about knowing that selling is serving, and selling is making a difference to our customers.
Do you think that people watching this video can go from actually not really liking sales to hearing, okay, selling is serving, and going, okay, well, I'm gonna sell now? Is that the shift, or what does it take to get that shift?
So my favorite feedback that I get is when somebody says to me, Pete, you've allowed me to fall in love with sales. And
so how do you do that?
There's a number of steps that we go through, and I've mentioned one already, which is, of course, having some training, which removes that fear, because if we're just going around thinking a salesperson is someone that from the 1990s, with the big briefcase, that doesn't work either. So it's removing the fear through training. So knowing that sales is really just influence. And knowing that we are all natural born salespeople, and the best salespeople are children. So if you're watching this now and you've got children or a child, you'll know that they're very determined. If they want an ice cream, they'll get a no from you perhaps, and then they change their approach. And I was actually with my niece a couple of weeks ago, and as I was going to leave, she said, it's called Uncle Putt, not Pete. She goes, Uncle Putt, can you read me a story? Because she was going to bed. And I said no, and then she changed her approach and was like, Uncle Putt, can you read me a story? And then she burst into tears, and that didn't work. And then she just looked at me and went, Uncle Putt, can you read me a story, in the sweetest kind of way. So I couldn't possibly say no. So it's about this positivity.
It's like selling on emotions then, yeah?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. And I'm not saying we should just burst out crying in front of everybody to get the sale, but really for people to feel more comfortable, it is just about immersing yourself into the, hey, you know what? I know that my customers' lives or their business, depending on what you're selling, will be better as a result of the solution that I provide for them. And when you really step into that space, you can start to feel a lot better and more certain in the sales process.
I noticed you used the word influence before, and a lot of people, through the different training programs that I've been to or I've run, I find that some people think when they hear influence, they also hear a negative as well, because then influence is then manipulation. How do you feel about it? Where's that line where it's manipulation is too much? People start using a lot of NLP and all this type of stuff, the psychology. When is it too much, or is there such thing as too much?
I believe there is, but it comes down to, are you selling from a place of principle, or are you selling from a place of technique? And I get a lot of people who come through on sales training programs and they say, teach me something that will help me close more sales. And they go, well, hold on a second, back up a moment. I can teach you 1,000 different techniques, but the last thing I want to do is teach you more ways of getting things wrong. And it's really getting back to why you do what you do. So why do you sell your product? Do you want to help people? And influence comes from that place of positivity that, Eric, if I'm going to sell you something, it's because genuinely, and I believe it in every cell in my body, that what I'm selling you, you'll get more value, far more value than what you actually pay from your bank account. And so therefore it comes from that place of influence. And a lot of the time that can be, having empathy and really listening skills is important, asking great questions. But also sometimes people need that gentle bit of coaching and a bit of a push as well. But when it becomes manipulation is when in the mind of the customer, they really aren't ready, and you're continuing to push them, and from an external point of view, you're pushing them to get the sale instead of, the best way to have power is to give it away, instead of asking questions that get them to think. A great salesperson, has that ability to step into the mind of their customer, and for the customer to realize that, you know what, this guy or this girl they're right. I do actually need to change this or change that. And I always say that aha moments sell. And if you can get those aha moments in with your customers, that's real influence. Manipulation is when somebody's just, they're not there, and you're getting them into their reactive brain instead of their logical brain, and they're just, like you say, emotional, and then from there they're saying yes and they're regretting it later. And I believe that we all know if we're influencing or if we're manipulating.
I think that's a nice way to look at it. But then at the same time though, sometimes, let's say if you had a great product, for sure that this thing is gonna save that person's life, right?
Sure.
Then where is that line? That person, let's say that person really is totally unaware of the product you're selling.
Yeah.
They're totally unaware that this thing will benefit them. So what do you do then? Like, where is there a line? Is there a barrier? Do you do whatever it takes to get the sale, or?
Okay, yeah, it's still down to the customer, and you need to know, yes, absolutely, you've done whatever it takes. But one of my favorite things that I teach in closing is detach from the outcome. Care is it's paradoxical, because you have to care with all your heart, 100% you have to care about that person, but then you still have to know that if they say no, that you did your best. And I actually think when you detach from the outcome, and you have immense power, because you can literally, you can remind that customer that client, you can say, hey, look, I want to help you, but ultimately it's your decision of what you decide to do. But I'm not sure if I should share this in an interview, but should I share it? I'll share it. I remember I was personal training, and I had a couple that were heavily overweight, and I knew that if they left the room, that they would go back to their normal life, and they wouldn't do what it would take. And that was the moment. I had to, as a personal trainer with responsibility, I had to grab it, and I had to.
Then it's your duty to get
It's my duty, absolutely my duty, and without manipulation. And again, I don't condone this by any means, but I want to show you how much it. And so I remember listening to their excuses and their reasons. And a lot of the time, people they're holding on to their, the devil that they know than the one that they don't, right? Because they're like, we're comfortable, we know that we're not healthy. So I got up, I walked over to the door, I locked the door. And I sat back down, and I said, I just don't recommend this. This is not brilliant. But at the same time, I sat back down, and I was like, do you know what? At the end of the day, I'm not going to let you leave today. It's not about whether you buy from me or not, but I'm not letting you leave today until you make that decision in your mind that you will make a change from this moment. And I think that's the difference. The difference between a manipulator and the difference between someone who's highly influential is the manipulator is just trying to get that individual to buy their product. Somebody who really cares and from their heart, I'm not saying they're going to lock the door, okay, but what they will do is that they will work with that person. I think you say do whatever good it takes. They will do whatever good it takes to get that person to commit to change. But then you can detach from the outcome, and actually it's kind of a cool thing when you detach from the outcome. They trust you more, and then they want to buy from you anyway.
Cool. So, if there was like 3 keys that you could share right now, like 3 powerful things for those people who are out there right now, they probably have a product, an idea, a service, or maybe even an idea for a business, and they're wanting to make that pitch or make that sell. What would the 3 crucial things be?
Okay, number 1, ask more questions. You sell with questions, not with answers. When we get very excited, especially if it's your own product, so if you're watching now and you're selling your own thing, chances are you might get a little bit excited about it, passionate about it, and we have a tendency to tell people about it. But the more we tell, the more we push them away, energy-wise. I know you're big into energy, it's probably why we get along. And so you've got to ask a lot more engaging questions. So that's number 1. Really find out what your customer's goal is, what their pains are, and find out what their motivations are. But yeah, definitely. And right now I'm not going to say what type of questions, just ask more questions. Number 2, you don't get what you want, you get what you practice.
You don't get what you want,
you get what you practice. And a lot of salespeople, and when I say salespeople, I mean everybody, by the way. If you're selling a product or service, you're a salesperson. And so number 2 is really realizing you can't actually go just on a 1-day program and be like, oh, I know sales now. It's something that you continue to practice. And if you practice 10 minutes a day, practice your sales conversation, practice the questions you ask, practice overcoming an objection. if you practice those things
Yeah.
and you get to a point of complete certainty,
Yeah.
you will sell more effectively.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The third one is to embrace sales. Don't avoid it. Yeah, so just
to do it anyway.
Just to do it anyway. And we always run away from the things that we fear. So if you're fearing it, do it more often. It's like getting on stage, right? You know, it's very difficult for somebody who never gets on stage to be able to get up there and actually do it. If you've done it 1,000 times before, you feel more comfortable. So pick up the phone. I started my business by I made 2,223 calls. It's in a spreadsheet.
Wow.
And I did that in a month, of which I got 11 meetings. I got my first 4 clients.
I think that's what people don't realize, the amount of work that needs to be put in to get those numbers, right?
Yeah. I mean, you can focus on the 2,219 rejections, or you can focus on the 4 yeses. So keep focusing on those yeses. Learn from every single call that you make, every single meeting that you have, and that's how you get better at sales.
Nice, beautiful. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You guys heard it. Thank you so much for tuning in. And also another thing as well, I've decided to also collaborate with Pete with a sales challenge. So he's actually running a sales challenge. He's also running a free training webinar, which I'm actually going to chuck the link below this video so you guys can get involved. He's kindly said he'll contribute, towards our channel. So those of you who are in this video right now, all you need to do is you just click on the link and get yourself registered, and then you'll get this free training, which will be done live with Pete here. And you just got to do it, And guys, so I just want to leave you one thing, I really believe that selling is serving, and you need to come to this realization that it doesn't matter what you have right now, it doesn't matter if it's this life-changing product, this service, this message right now, but if you don't know how to sell it to people, you might as well just keep it to yourself and lock yourself in your room and just keep it to yourself all your life, right? You can't make a difference to people's lives if you don't learn to sell. So really get good at selling. Just click on the link, join the webinar, and then learn, get your notebook out, learn, and then really go out there and make an impact. Anyway, guys, that's bye from me and bye from Pete.
Thank you.